explain. Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and get started. So this is going to be broken down into a series. All right. So we're starting off with the basics. And this is about how to lose fat, how fat loss actually works. So we're going to be doing parts, and this is just the very first part. So some of you all may already understand bits of this, but I want to break down it further than what you will understand, because I'm sure the majority of us know calorie deficit is how we lose fat, right? Like that's the reason why we see a decrease in our weight. That's why our body fat percentage goes down, is by consuming fewer calories. But I want you all to get a much more in-depth understanding. So we're starting off with the basics. Now, the first piece of this is understanding energy balance. All right. So does anyone know what energy balance means? It's like, do you all understand what energy is, how that relates to calories? You all can put a 1 in the chat if you do understand it. If you don't, drop a 2. 1, 2, 2. Okay. 2. Cool. So basically, when it comes to our body, how we operate, it's just a balance between the energy that we're putting into our body and the energy that we're expending, right? The energy that's coming out. So we put energy into our body by consuming calories. And the energy that's coming out is by the activities and the different things that happen that causes us to burn those calories. So by consuming more calories, and we'll start with the calories, for example, calories is just a unit of measurement, right? It's just a way to measure how much energy that we're putting into our body on a daily basis. So when we say calories, what we really mean is just energy, because the food that we're taking in, it stores energy. That's how we stay alive. So if we're consuming too much energy, that's what's causing the weight gain that we see, what that's happening with us. So what happens, I mean, if the energy input that you put into your body exceeds the energy output, can you tell me what happens with your weight? The energy that you're putting into your body exceeds the energy that's being output. Does anyone know?
You gain weight.
Right. So what happens if the energy stays the same that you're putting in as the energy that you're putting out? You're putting in energy and you're putting out energy at the same rate.
Maintain.
And then obviously, the other end of that, if the energy that's going out is more than energy that's coming in, weight loss, that causes weight loss, right? So let's go more specific with the output side of it. I think we understand the input side of it, which is just the calories that we're consuming. There's 4 main ways that we burn calories, all right? And those are listed right here on the side, 4 main ways. The first way is the BMR, which is our basal metabolic rate. Now, our basal metabolic rate is essentially, put it in layman's terms, it's just the calories that we're burning by resting, just to keep us alive, right? So not doing any type of activity, not doing anything extraneous, like just literally just resting, chilling, our brain functioning, the bare minimum, right? The amount of calories that we need to just maintain the bare minimum. So that's going to equate for 60% of your total calories per day, right? 60% of the calories that you're taking in per day is just used to keep you alive without anything, not talking, not moving your arms, nothing. The second way that we burn calories is through NEAT, right? And that means non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And we have a video about that inside the Pocket Coach. But to put it short, that's just the amount of energy or the activities that we're using, that we're doing to do things that's not exercise. So non-exercise activities that we're doing. So that includes walking, getting out of your car, going to the grocery store, cleaning your house, doing the dishes, like all those bare minimal things that we're doing. That's just activities that we have to do mostly on a daily basis without actually exercising. So everything that you're doing outside of exercising. And then EAT, which is the next one, that's exercise activity thermogenesis. So obviously that's working out, training, swimming, whatever you're doing, karate, martial arts, whatever it may be, that's what that is, right? So that's having the intent to use exercise as a way for getting activities in. So the last and final way that we burn calories, and these are pretty much the only four ways or the four main ways that we burn calories. The last way is TEF, right? Call it tough. And that's your thermic effect of food, right? So when we're consuming food, basically, to put it short, easy way to understand it is we consume food, we have to actually burn calories or use energy to digest that food. So it's like food isn't a free process of eating. When you're eating your food, it has to be broken down and it takes energy to actually break down food, right? So those are the four main ways that we burn calories. Now that's probably the only one that you really can't control too much. There are some variables that you can control to manipulate that, but it's not a whole lot you can do. That equates for about 10% of the total calories that you're burning on a daily basis, right? So your BMR and then your TEF, those two, there's not a lot that you can do to manipulate those. So when it comes to the way that you can manipulate these, instead of, now let's go back to the energy side of it, your energy in. Obviously, you can consume fewer calories, which is a way to start some weight loss, to start weight loss happening, right? You consume fewer calories, you consume foods that are lower in calories that contain a lot more value, so that way you can stay fuller longer. And then the energy outside of things, there's a few things that you can do about that. And does all this make sense so far? Like, did I go too fast as far as the ways that we burn calories? The BMR needs, drop a 1 in the chat if it's making sense so far. Drop a 2 if I should explain a little bit more, or you want to know a little bit more about a specific one. See some ones. Okay, cool. So what I'll talk about right fast is the TEF. All right, I'll talk about the thermic effect of food for a minute. You'll see on the internet a lot of times that people bring up, I'm not sure if you have seen this, but people bring up that calories in, calories out isn't what causes weight loss. But in short, it's really the only way that we lose weight. It's all about energy balance. If you take in energy, it has to go somewhere, especially if you're not expending it. So if you're consuming too many calories and putting them into your body on a daily basis, you're not burning them off in some way, one of those 4 ways that's listed over there, it's going to be stored as fat, right? Hold on, give me 1 second. I think somebody else is coming in. They have to go somewhere. So you'll hear arguments with people saying that fat loss isn't controlled specifically about calories in, calories out. There's more to it, right? And there is a little bit more to it, because you'll see people saying that, oh, well, I was in a calorie deficit and I didn't lose weight. They'll say it's other things that control it, right? There's things such as, for example, like the amount of protein that you're taking in, or fiber, or some of these other factors, right? And that is the case, but it's not the whole case. So for example, if you're someone that is eating let's just say a low protein diet, right? You're eating protein, let's just say 50 grams per day, and you're taking in 2,000 calories, right? If you were to switch to a higher protein diet, right? So let's just say 50 grams per day, you jump that up to 150 grams per day. Just by doing that, you're going to be burning off a lot more calories than a person that's only eating 50 grams per day if you increase yours to 150 grams per day. Because protein has an effect on TEF, right? Your thermic effect of food. Protein causes a lot more energy. It expends a lot more energy to actually break down, because we need those proteins, which are turned into, I won't get too scientific, but basically protein contains amino acids, and that's the reason why we use them, because it's us to repair our muscles a lot faster, to grow our muscles and things like that. So it requires a little bit more energy to break down protein than it does, for example, with carbs. For carbs, it has about a 6 to 8% on the thermic effect of food, and then fats is about 2 to 3%, right? So if we have a higher protein diet, that allows us to burn more calories just by breaking down that protein than if we had a lower protein diet. All right. So if 2 people are on a 2,000 calorie diet, they have about the same height, same weight, same daily activities, and both of them are eating 2,000 calories per day. One is eating 70 grams per day of protein, and the other one is eating 150 grams per day of protein. The person that's eating 150 grams per day of protein is actually going to burn off more calories, right? Because they're burning more calories to break down that higher protein diet that they have. So those are some of the little differences that's caused, right? The effect of that food is broken down a little bit different if you're on a higher protein than a lower protein. So the macronutrients can matter to some extent, but that's usually when you're at, a lower body weight and you don't really have that much to control. So you start to try to manipulate some of the variables. Now, the other thing is they will say, okay, well, I do have a higher protein diet, right? But the thing is, the calories in that I'm taking in, they aren't necessarily causing me to lose weight and I'm in a deficit, where there's a lot of different variables that happen with that as well, right? And this is why one of the main reasons why we always say we want you to track your calories, because the nutrition labels can actually be off, right? The labels that you're reading on your foods, let's just say the protein, the tofu, all those different type of things, these companies have the ability to be off by 10 to 20%. So something may say that per serving is 150 calories per serving. It can really be 180 calories per serving or 120 calories per serving. It can be 10 to 20% off, either up in calories or down in calories, right? So you never really know. So the calorie intake that you was taking in, let's just say to be in a deficit, you were taking in 1,700 calories and you tracked everything, you weighed everything out, but you may have actually been, and it was, let's just say it was all like, foods that do have labels, and you enter that into your BBP app to track it. Those foods that you were taking in may have had you at 2,300 calories versus like 2,000, right? Or if you're taking in 1,700, you may have been at 1,850, right? Which is why it's important to actually track so you can see how your body's changing over time, because we can't solely depend on what the label says. And some of you all may have had the experience of, let's just say, scanning something with your app and the calories came up a little bit different than what it says on the label, right? And that's part of the reason why, because it's not always going to be 100%. The calories that are on the labels, they're not necessarily right 100% of the time. Sometimes they can be off a little bit. So it's super important to track, because even though that they're off, you still want to have a good understanding of where you are roughly within 100 to 200 calories, whether you're up or down. So that's how we make adjustments over time. We can see the trend. So if you hit a weight, let's just say you're taking in a certain amount of calories and then you cease to lose weight, right? Your weight loss stops and you're not seeing any adjustments. It's probably because either the nutrition is off a little bit, or maybe there was some inaccurate tracking on your parts, or something happened, right? Or maybe you stop losing weight at that specific calorie intake and something needs to change. So there are some things that we can do to manipulate those changes. And that's what we need to talk about, which is if we see a plateau, right? And a plateau is just letting you know that something's actually going on that we need to manipulate. So there's nothing to stress about when you do hit a plateau on weight. It just means something has to change. And you're always going to essentially, quote unquote, hit a plateau when you're trying to hit a specific goal, whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, because the body isn't necessarily, it doesn't just stop, or doesn't just stay the same. You won't eat the same amount of calories for the rest of your life. It always has to change. It's always about adapting and making adjustments. So let's say you're taking in 1,500 calories per day right now to lose weight, and you weigh 167 pounds. You're taking in 1,500 calories and you lose about 7 pounds, but you notice that after 3 weeks, you stop making progress, right? What would the best option be to do from there? Or what is a option? Somebody hop off mute and let me know. What is an option that you can do?
Switch up the calorie intake, maybe lower it or something.
So you can lower your calorie intake if you're at 1,500 and you stop losing weight. You can lower your calorie intake. What's something else that you can do?
Increase protein.
You can definitely increase your protein for sure. That will have some variable on there, but that will take a little bit of time. What if your protein is already high, right? What if you're taking in a high protein diet already? What else could you do to keep progressing without dropping your calories? Work out more, increase your activities. Absolutely. So which activity would you increase? What are some of those things that you can do?
Cardio.
You can add more cardio in, right? Because this, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just want you all to start thinking about some of these concepts and things. There really isn't a right or wrong answer. It's always a right or wrong for a specific situation. All right. So let's just say you're taking in 1,500 calories per day and you start losing weight, but you want to continue to lose more weight. But you notice that at 1,500 calories, that's just the amount that keeps you full. If you were to decrease those calories anymore, you'll really start struggling when it comes to sticking to that calorie intake. You know, you're already at a low calorie. You don't want to go any lower. What are some of those other things that you can manipulate to start losing weight? And you don't want to drop your calories anymore right now because you're already starving. One thing that you can do is start eating more high volume, low calorie meals. You can just start adding more foods that are lower in calories that give you more volume. That's why we talk about like the melons and the strawberries and obviously like the veggies, leafy greens, those type of things, because they're really low in calories and higher in volume, so you can eat more of it, water content. But let's just say you're already doing that, right? You already got your diet on point. You don't want to drop anymore. You can start by just increasing your activities, like you all have mentioned. You can just start adding in another cardio day, maybe, right? So you just throw in another cardio day, and on that cardio day, you burn 200, or you make it a goal to burn 200 to 300 calories for that specific day doing your cardio. That creates another 200 to 300 calorie deficit just by doing that extra cardio day. And that will get you back on track when it comes to weight loss. Not changing your diet, not doing anything different with that, but just that additional cardio day, burning another 200 to 300 calories. That can be a world of a difference. And you can start seeing some more progress. From there, what else could you do? Let's just say you already got 3 cardio days and 3 training days. What else could you do without changing your diet, without adding any more cardio days, any more training days? What else could you do to keep progress going if you're already at a stall?
Maybe you can increase your NEAT activity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can make it a goal. Who was that, teacher?
Yeah.
So you can make it a goal to start doing more things that aren't necessarily considered cardio, right? But it would cause you to just get more active. So clean the house more, right? Do the dishes manually. Stop throwing it in the dishwasher, or park further from the grocery store, park to the back of the lot. That's one of the things I always talk about because that's something that isn't necessarily difficult to do. You can just walk a few more steps throughout the day, like strategically do things that cause you to be more active, that won't require a lot of energy. So it doesn't increase your appetite, but it does cause you to burn more calories. Take the stairs, walk to, if you got a grocery store or something in your neighborhood, walk there, or whatever it may be. Just do those little strategic things instead of maybe you work 10 minutes from your house. Instead of driving there, take a bike or something like that. Just do little things that it doesn't have to be work, but you know what I mean? Like take a bike more, do different things that you would have to do anyways, but take the longer approach to doing them. That's a quick way to start burning more calories throughout the day without dropping your calories all the time, So those are some of the things that I want you all to start thinking about, some different ways that you can manipulate what you're doing in your diet, because it's not always about just lowering your calories more and more and more, right? There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different approaches that you can do to continue to progress without decreasing your calories further, all right? And it's just to get your mind wondering and understanding these different concepts and the different things that you can strategically add in to keep progressing without hitting a stall. And again, a stall is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just your body just letting you know that something needs to change if you want to continue to change your physique, right? And it's not a bad thing to decrease your calories, right? It's just more so having an understanding that there is more ways of doing so, more ways of losing weight than just solely doing that. The other thing that I want to touch on is When it comes to our maintenance calories, and maintenance calories are just the amount of calories that we need to take in, or it's the amount of calories that we need to take in to stay at our same weight, right? So our maintenance calories and our deficit calories change over time, right? And you're never gonna, for the rest of your life, eat the same amount of calories. Well, you can if you're not like training and working out, those type of things, you can and stay at the same weight. But if you're doing what we're doing, if we're training consistently, you're working out, you're changing your body fat percentage, you're adding more muscle tissue, you're not going to be at a certain amount of calories for the rest of your life and just stay at that calorie range, right? That's going to adjust over time. Let's say you start off at 200 pounds and you're a little bit overweight, and you start training, you start working out, you start eating better, and then you get your body weights down to 170, right? Your maintenance calories that you were taking in at 200 pounds is going to be different than your maintenance calories that you take in at 170 pounds. That's going to adjust because your body composition is adjusting. You're probably putting on more muscle mass, your body fat percentage has went down. So now you have a different metabolism, right? And just the fact that you have more muscle tissue on your body that at 170 pounds than you had at 200 pounds, now that extra muscle that you have, those extra pounds of muscle, that causes you to burn more calories, right? So now you probably can eat more calories at 170 than you were able to, or maybe stay the same at than you were able to at 200, because now your body fat or your body composition is just much different, right? So that's one of the benefits of adding more muscle tissue to your body. It allows you to burn more calories just at rest, just because you have that muscle tissue. And not a lot, but like maybe per additional body pound or per additional pound of muscle that you have, probably about another 3 to 4 calories that is being burned just to maintain that muscle mass, right? So you actually have to feed your body to hold on to that muscle mass. Obviously, increase your protein, those type of things. But these are just some of the things that you will need to be aware of. You know, you're never going to be able to just stay at the same calorie range for the rest of your life. That's always going to be an up and down thing. And as you continue to lose weight over time, some of those other things will adjust. Your, like I was just talking about, this your BMR that would change over time. Your basal metabolic rate that changes when your body composition changes. Same thing for you with your knee. When you're in a deficit and you're losing weight, right? You're not necessarily going to be as active as you probably were when you were at a higher body fat percentage, or when you were eating more calories, right? As you start to decrease your calories, naturally, we just don't move as much because we're trying to preserve that energy that we have. We're trying to not do as many things because we don't have as much energy as we did when we were in a caloric surplus or even maintenance. So these are just some of the things to think about that like I mentioned, that you might want to be aware of, and just try to point out when you see some of these things that are happening, right? If you see yourself coming to a stall, just realize that there are options, and it's not always about dropping your calories more. That's not necessarily the route that we want to take. We may want to adjust some of those other variables. So that's the main lesson that I want to touch on today. There's a lot more than just this, but I don't want to go too in depth into the more specifics on that. I want to like kind of stay on here. Anyone wants to hop off mute, let's just have a convo. What do you all think about this so far? Like, do you have a little bit more of an understanding of how energy balance works? Does this make sense?
It definitely clears up some things. So thanks for sharing that. I think sometimes we get the surface level things of, hey, just do this, but not necessarily the why. And sometimes the why kind of actually helps.
When you say it clears up some things, what were some of those things that you feel it might have cleared up, or that you didn't understand?
Well, like I've heard of BMR. Wasn't, not much you can do there. And then just kind of neat. And then when you think about like how you get to like that place of like plateauing in different ways and different things that you can kind of address. You can adjust, because of course, like you don't want to go too low on calories, because you don't want to sit around and starve all day, but you want something that's kind of like maintainable, like, long term, because you want to be able to like get your weight loss, but actually, maintain it too. And going too far down in calories is just not sufficient. It's not a long term. I think it's not sustainable long term. So Just kind of like that, how you can kind of move things around when you feel like you're hitting that plateau. Because sometimes you hit that plateau and you just feel stuck and you're like, okay, I'm forget all of this.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Glad to
That
hear
was Shanice, right?
I believe
Yeah,
so.
that was me.
Mhm.
Mm.
Let me pick out somebody.
Zav.
Who
I
hasn't
knew it.
talked
I
yet.
knew it.
Zom.
So predictable.
I
So
was trying to see who
predictable.
hasn't said anything yet.
I was like, let me unmute myself. But no, I really like what you said at the end. Because obviously we all have goals, and I was like I was laughing to myself. You was like, 200 pounds, a little overweight. And I was like, that part. No, but seriously, because that's the goal I want to get to, like 199 or what have you. But anyway, I think it's important to, like the young lady said before me, show grace to ourselves. And I think it's good. I think it's a great reminder, for me to know, like, in different seasons, it's going to look differently. So maybe in 6 months, and I didn't know that because, when you watch commercials and this, that, and the third, and even if you look at the back of labels, because I'm an avid label person, it's like, okay, you need $2,000 a day. You need 2,000 calories. Well,
Challenge, yeah.
dollars, calories, either or. You need that.
$10 a day is nice too. But
Listen,
Right.
listen, Saint. Listen, shoot. But like that's always been in the back of my mind. Like, okay, like I think it's a general American consensus to have like 1,500 or 2,000 calories a day or what have you. So knowing that, realizing we're getting the reminder that, like, yo, if you are trying to tone up, I have friends that are bodybuilders, so they literally their diet is even crazier, right? So if you're trying to navigate and sculpt your body, if you will, you got to do that. And thank you so much for clearing up like the energy thing. I hope we can all get a recording of this this call because
Yeah.
it's something to definitely know. Because I remember before I started with y'all, I mean, I was a little overwhelmed thinking about like macros and micros and this, that, and that. I was like, I ain't trying to track all that. That's like doing the most. That's doing too much. Like honestly, that was my initial thoughts, and I mean,
Yeah.
I still kind of have those same thoughts, but nah, but
Yeah,
nah.
you
Pardon me. What'd you
What
say?
happened?
I was talking about Jack Cake. She was like, "Yep, that's it. That's too much."
Yeah, it's just it seems like it's doing a lot, but no, I really do like I like the idea of tracking my food because at the end of the day, it's like you can say like I won. Like if you are 200 calories under, like I literally, Dwayne had me to like prep this week because we have some specific goals and we're really trying to get aggressive with them. So I was like, yo, I'm about to meal prep and I'm about to put, literally everything I eat in, whether it's, a thing of avocado or a rice cake or whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, it is very fulfilling. And so yeah. Thank you for having this call and hopefully we can do it more often.
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely gonna turn to a series basically. So, and this is just the first one. Like I said, I just want to keep it general and very high level without going too in depth into any specifics, because there's a lot more that we can do to really start to change the way that we view this. Instead of viewing it as the specifics, like, oh, I got to have this many carbs, this many fats, and this many proteins. Like, understand the basics of what causes, basically the minimum input for the maximum output, right? So not going too crazy with trying to eat a specific amount of anything, but just learning what causes the change, right? And it's just the energy that you put into your body versus the energy that you're expending, that you're burning off, that you're using. And then we'll go into more of the specifics. So like something that Zav mentioned, which was, the certain calories that you're having per day, like that can even change and adjust, when we're doing things like calorie cycling, because every day we won't necessarily need the same amount of calories. Some days we have a lot going on. Let's just say some days we're working that day and we're training that day and we got some events or whatever. So we need a lot more calories on that day. Some days we got a day off. We're not training at the gym. We're just chilling, lounging around the house. We don't need that much calories. We don't need that much energy that specific day. So we can have higher calorie days on those days where we're really busy and then lower calorie days on those days where we're not. And at the end of the week, it still balances out. It's just that some days are higher and some days are lower, but we just want to make sure that they match up at the end of that week to hit your goal. An example of that real quick is, that higher calorie day may be 2,500 calories. That lower calorie day may be 1,500 calories. but at the end of that week, it's still 2,000 calories, right? So just playing around and understanding that nothing's set in stone. You know, when we give you the calories that you're taking in, or when we give you your meal plan, realize that it's just a guideline, essentially, right? There are no special foods. There are nothing that you have to eat, right? There are no like requirements. It's more so just teaching you the ins and outs of how to go about designing your meal plan or go about designing your framework for eating. You know, you don't necessarily have to eat anything that you don't want. You can have foods that work for you, right? Foods that you like to eat. You can eat the foods that you want to eat. It's more so about the portion sizes, the amounts, what you're making it with, watching the oils and the butters and the sauces that are higher in calories, just get a feel for all of that. All right. So we'll go more in depth into those in the coming sessions as well. But yes, any other feedback, anything else from anyone else that wasn't touched on, or just conversation in general?
Hey, what's up, teacher? See over there taking notes.
No, I was taking notes because I was thinking, because I've gotten my weight down pretty good, but now I want to kind of rev up the muscle and like bring it in. I want to wear my bathing suit and wear whatever I want. So I'm trying to figure out, like when you were saying like how you can add more cardio. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do it, because right now I have a hip injury. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can ride my bike or do a walk, or even how you're saying park the car farther away, since I like to go to the grocery store a lot. Just, walk in from a farther area. So that's what I was thinking about. And yes, I did take lots of notes, Dwayne.
No, that's good. That's great. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a requirement, I think, which is learning how to make adjustments based off your current situation, and not letting your current situation derail you from your goals. Like, for example, with me last year, the beginning of last year, last January 2021, I had my first actual injury. Like, I've been hurt before, but I never had an actual injury. It was a lower back injury. And that stopped me from doing my favorite movement, deadlifts, which kind of stopped me from, it kind of caused me to be unmotivated a little bit to just train overall, because it was like, that was a staple of it, but of my training basically. But realizing that you can still make progress and you can still reach your goals by just working around, whether it's not just an injury, but working around whatever it may be, a life situation, a new job, something changing within your schedule, all different type of things. It's just all about making adjustments and having different strategies based off of what's happening in your current life right now. So we have quite a few of those inside the Pocket Coach, like different strategies, different eating strategies, different plans and things like that. So we're adding new courses to it as well. I just added some last week. They're under the nutrition portion, the nutrition courses, the eating strategies. So if y'all haven't checked those out, definitely log in and take a look around. That's pretty much it for this week. That's the basics, the main topic of this. And this will be, so I'm gonna take this video and upload it to the Pocket Coach. There's a section that's called Client Conversations, and I'll probably drop it in there. That's probably where we'll keep the majority of the recordings. So as we go through, if you all can't make a certain one, they'll all be listed there, but I'd much rather you all show up and, we have a dialogue, do a live, and, we can keep it going, hopefully on a weekly basis. If that works for you all, we'll just find a time that works for you all. I think Sunday is probably the best day for most people.
Everybody good? Drop a one, unmute, say, yeah, we good, we Gucci. All this quietness, we're gonna be doing burpees if I don't get a we good in like 2 seconds. So let's start off with Tate.
We are good. You always trying to give somebody burpees, Dwayne.
Zah, we good?
Everybody good.
We real good. We real good, man.
Okay. Tisha, we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know you're handling the baby right now, so I'm gonna let you slide because you probably can't hear me. But she will be doing burpees. She'll come on in about 2 minutes.
That's all it takes. Just start.
That's all it takes, because they already know I do not play, especially burpees being my favorite. You can drop down and give me 20 burpees.